Hey guys, and welcome to the third part of where I'm teaching you how to make the Bioshcok logo in Blender. Now, if you have no idea why you're watching the third part and you've clicked on it accidentally and you actually have an interest in learning this, go back and watch the first one, second one, and then you'll be right on track with us. And it will feel like no time at all once you've gotten to this point. Anyway, for those of you that have followed the last two tutorials, you'll know in this one we are going to be animating and lighting this scene that in the last tutorial we just textured to make it look all nice. So let's get right into it. So what we want is, I removed those lights that I put in there last time just so we could see the normal map. So remove those, and then what we want to do is we want to get a point, and I've got some very specific values that we need to use for the lighting so it all looks nice. So bear with me on this one. So this one we need to have it at a position of 6 on the Z-axis, and that's it. And we'll change the strength down to 20, and we'll turn the cast shadows off. Cool. So we'll go Shift D. On the X-axis, we'll change that to 2. Oops. 2. Shift D again, and change that to 5. We'll select both of those, and then we want to change the pivot point to 3D cursor. We're going to go, I've already duplicated those, no I haven't. We're going to Shift D, scale X -1, and now we've got all 5 of our lights set up. So we can go Shift Z, and we can look at our pretty lighting now. That's all nice and even, or evenly distributed across the Bioshcok logo, so it looks nice. Very good. Alright, so now what we want to do, we're going to Shift A, we're going to get an area lamp going in here, and once again, very specific values. We want -6.5 on the X-axis, on the Y-axis we want 4, and on the Z-axis we want 5. 5, there we go. We also want a rotation for this, so on the X we want a rotation of 90 degrees, -90 degrees, sorry, my bad. And we want a rotation of 67 degrees on the Z-axis. Awesome. Alright, so now here's where the fun part starts. Actually, no, sorry. One part before the fun part. We're going to change the strength of this all the way up to 300. And now if you look at the lighting on this, it's looking much nicer. We're getting those nice shadows that you would see in the actual logo of it all. And it is coming together quite well. Cool. So here's the fun part. We'll animate this lighting. Now what we do is we go Shift A, and we're going to get an empty going in here. So we'll come up to empty, and we'll go plane axis arrows. Now the way we want to do this, we want to select the lamp first, the area lamp, and then select the empty, Control P, object. Now what this has done is this has created a parent for us. So wherever we move this empty, it'll also move the area lamp. So if we wanted to, I don't know, maybe if we wanted to rotate this around the Bioshcok logo like it does in the actual game, oh, look at that, we can actually do that now, which is fantastic for us. So just before we start the animating process, we need to set up a couple of parameters for how quickly things are going to be going. So just get rid of that. Now, we'll come into our scene here. We want to crank this all the way up to 100%. Okay, and you can choose whatever frame rate you want, but for this I'm going to do 30 because I just don't want it to take forever. Actually, I probably won't render this since I've already got a rendered copy, so I'll just show you that at the end because I'm going to do all the exact same values for 30 frames. If you choose to do 60 frames, I'm going to let you do the math because I can't be stuffed right now because I'm trying to teach you guys how to use Blender, not math. So 60 frames is going to be 1 second, so pretty much if I do 30 seconds, you're going to have to do 60. Any values I do, it's going to be roughly almost double what I'm going to have to be doing, so it's going to take a lot more time to render, and yeah. So 30 frames is going to do me fine, even though I am quite the fanatic about graphics and quality and frames and blah blah blah, but I'll put that aside for this one. Okay, so in your sampling, we want to change the amount of samples to 250, and we want to change the clamp indirect here to a value of 1, and that's just going to limit the amount of fireflies, which are like little dots that will appear in your scene when there's a lot of light and reflections going on. So that's just going to help reduce that, and we will also do something else later to assist with that. Cool. Cool. Okay, so I figured the best time is kind of around like 7 seconds for this entire intro to go. So if we're doing 30 frames, we want 7 seconds. That's 210 total frames that we want, like that. So we'll just change that in the end value there. Cool. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to start animating this light spinning around. So this is where we want it to start off. And if we look right here, it's at a rotation of 0, which is perfect. Okay, so we'll press I with the empty selected, press I, and we go rotation. And then what we want, we'll drag it all the way down to the end here. So it's all the way at the 210th frame, and we're going to rotate around the Z about negative 180 degrees. Well, exactly, not about. We'll press I and we'll go rotation again. Now, if you drag this little bar anywhere between frame 1 and frame 210, you'll notice that the lamp now rotates around the empty, which is very, very good for us. But we still don't have control. Well, we do have control, sorry. We still don't have those textures changing, because you see here, the light's at the very bottom. It's reached the end of its little course, and we don't have nice grungy looking textures, which isn't good. But we will change that. So you guys should remember when I talked about this little thing, the factorial, in the last tutorial, and I said that's very important to be able to control everything. And you guys should have mucked around with this, and you should have changed the factorial to 0 and changed it to other values so you could see that grunge being applied. So now what we're going to do is we're going to animate this so it's in line with all of the light moving around. So we'll bring this all the way back to frame 1. I think I'm at frame 1. I'm at frame 2. Okay, I'm at frame 1. Alright, so let's start with the copper background, and we'll just press I on top of that factorial, and that's going to change it. And then what we want to go to the 103rd frame, and we want to leave it like that. So we'll press I again, but we want to go all the way to the 210th frame, and here we want to take that to a value of 0. So between the 103rd frame, 103rd frame, all the way down to the 210th frame, it will start to add the grunge and rust to the background. Cool. So now I've just got to pretty much do the same thing for everything else. So let's bring this all the way back to the first frame. We're going to add a value of, we're going to animate the value of 1 there. Skip to frame 103. I cannot believe I just said that. Oh my god. I'm sorry, I cannot believe I just said free, like 103. Oh my goodness. I feel like I'm in primary school or something. Oh, what the hell. Oh, that's embarrassing. Oh well, whatever. So 103, I don't know how the hell I convinced myself to say that. That's ridiculous. Anyway, so 103, we want to animate that value of 1 again, and then all the way to the 210th frame, right up, all the way to the 210th frame, and we'll change that to a value of 0, like so. Now we're starting to get that rust, and it's all starting to look nice. Do the same for this. So I don't really need to explain this to you guys anymore. I'll just speed up the video from here. You guys can go through and animate it at a value of, you know, it's got to be a value of 1 between frame 1 and frame 103, and then at frame 210 it's got to be a value of 0. So I'll speed all this up, you guys can do it yourself, and enjoy. Okay guys, so that's it. We have got all this grunge and all this rust all over our Bioshcok logo now, And if you look at this, as we go back in the timeline, the light will move and different amounts of rust and grunge will start to appear on our logo as we change it. So we go from this very, very nice looking Bioshcok logo right here, and then we drag it all the way to the end, and we've got that rusted, oxide looking, damaged sort of Bioshcok logo. So we're not entirely done. We've done the fun part, and now we've got the part that I hate most about doing any project. I love making all the models and everything like that, but I hate the rendering. It's what I like to call literally the animator's equivalent of watching paint dry. It is just such a tedious, bloody, horrible. Okay, so what we're going to do is, if you're on a Mac, you want to have your output to be QuickTime Player. If you're on a Windows, I recommend H.264. I've tried to do other ones and it gives me like a file that my computer can't read. So I'm going with that. If you know that you can do one of the other ones and it's going to work for you, then that's brilliant. But that doesn't work for me. So yeah, we're going like that. And I did say I wanted to fix one other thing with fixing some of the fireflies and everything like that. So what we're going to do, we're just going to put a compositor in here, and we just want to search for a despeckle node, and just going to change the threshold down to 0.2. And now we will be firefly free. Firefly free. Wow. I had to slow that down then because I was worried I was going to stuff it up. Cool. All right. Yeah. Now it's the boring part, and you animate it. So what we do is, let's just choose somewhere to save it. I'm going to save it to my desktop, accept, give it a name. I'll call it, I don't know, call it Bioshcok logo animation. Like that. Cool. And I'm pretty sure that is everything. And if you guys have a GPU, switch it to GPU, because that is going to render it much quicker. Oh, while I'm on the topic, this is going to save some of you CPU users a lot of time, because I used to have to use CPU all the time, and it's the most frustrating thing ever. What we're going to do is we're going to go all the way down to the bottom. This is if you're on CPU, and we're going to change this to 16 by 16 right here. And that is going to speed up your render times so much. And if you're like me and you've got a GPU, maybe even a more powerful GPU than me, but this is probably what I recommend, go 256 for GPU. So I'll reinstate that. If you're on CPU, change your tile sizes to 16 by 16. If you're a GPU user, you should have 256 by 256, and that is going to maximize your render times. So they should be lickety split. And that just means you don't have to, walk away from your laptop for as long of a time. So guys, I hope you have enjoyed this. I hope the result renders for you nicely. I'll put my rendered result on the screen right now so you can see that. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you've learned something about texturing, well, a little bit of basics of texturing and how to modify some values and everything like that. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more Blender tutorials, and I'll see you guys in the next one.